And joining me now is Balázs Orbán, political director and advisor to the Prime Minister of Hungary. Good to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you've traveled a long way here to Washington to attend the Conservative Political Action Committee, or CPAC. Why come here for it?
Well, there is a growing international alliance between the national conservative forces. We have CPAC Hungary for the fourth executive year. That's the only CPAC in Europe, and we are invited. Well, we are happy to do so, like-minded people coming together.
Like-minded people. So do you see this as a national movement, an international movement?
Well, for those who are believing in liberal or progressive views, international cooperation comes quite easy because these are kind of a universal values. And it doesn't matter where are you from, it's like you share everything, you have the same views. But for national conservatives, it's a little bit different because you believe your own nation, you believe that foreign policy and international dynamism or relationship should be based on your national interest, and national interests are differ from each other because the nations have different history, different geography, different location, and so on and so on. So I think it's a little bit complicated for national conservative forces to cooperate on an international level. But CPAC is playing a very important role. It's growing, and this movement could identify some topics where we share concerns, like in connection with the future of the Western civilization, like migration, gender issues, role of Christianity, and so on and so on.
There was a bit of a scandal. Today, the president of the French far-right party national rally, Jordan Bardella, said he's going to cancel his speech at CPAC after a gesture alluding to Nazi ideology, he said, was made. That seems to be a reference to what Steve Bannon did when he took the stage. How did you interpret what happened?
Well, in Hungary, and so far as I understood, there is among the participants there is zero tolerance on anti-Semitism. This is what I was realizing, and there are some Jewish and Israeli participants also. So I don't see the scandal, honestly.
What did you think Steve Bannon was doing?
I think that if those Jewish participants and Israeli participants are saying that there was nothing anti-Semitic, then most probably there wasn't.
Understood. But if there was, that would be unacceptable.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
I mean, that we have a very strict policy in Hungary about that.
Okay. It was interesting to see Bardella saw that and called it Nazi ideology. Trump ally Steve Bannon has called your boss, Viktor Orbán, Trump before Trump. He has become very influential when it comes to the MAGA movement. How do you see Orbán and Trump working together?
Well, President Trump is representing the interest of United States, and my Prime Minister represents the interest of Hungary, and we have some shared visions, shared problems we want to solve, and we are ready to cooperate. Obviously, we know our role. I mean, the United States is a leading superpower. Hungary is a small state in the middle of Europe, but we are ready to cooperate, and we are very happy to see that the new American leadership is picking up topics which are also important for the Hungarian people. We mentioned migration, so fighting, pushing back illegal migration. That's a top priority for us as well. And before President Trump, during the Biden administration, it wasn't a policy. So the State Department and the foreign affairs environment was pushing the allies of United States towards another direction. They were promoting migration, they were promoting gender ideology, they were trying to get rid of with the Christian conservative roots, and this was not good for Hungary. This is this is not what the Hungarian people voted for. So we are very happy to see the change, and we hope there will be a strong cooperation between United States and Hungary, as it should be between allies.
Your prime minister has been on social media praising what President Trump has done with USAID, with the international projects that the U.S. supported. Elon Musk, of course, has said USAID must be destroyed. What do you find so threatening about the U.S. projects in Hungary?
No, that's a huge scandal, because American people and American taxpayers' money were used for pushing a liberal progressive ideology. They were financing the opposition directly and indirectly, opposition media, opposition NGOs. And you know, if you're coming from a country which wants to take itself seriously, that you cannot allow that politics is financed by a foreign country. It doesn't matter which country it is. It's a question of sovereignty, whether you are ready to preserve your sovereignty, which means that no foreign funding in politics. And this is what they were doing. And we are very happy that this operation seems to be stopping. And we have one concern, that the liberals are openly talking about transport this project towards Brussels, and Brussels institutions want to overtake the finance from the USAID, which would also be unacceptable for us Hungarians. So we try to work together with our European partners, not let it happen.
So USAID in 2022 launched a program to strengthen democracy in Hungary, that's what they called it, and civil society, and it included financially supporting independent media in Hungary. That's in part because 85% of the media in your country is under government control.
But it's not true. This is a problem. It was portrayed as it is a kind of a defense for democracy, but in reality, it's just a financial support for those who were opposing the government. Because United States previous administration wanted to get rid of the Hungarian government because we were opposing their war policy, we were not on the same side with the migration policy, and they will use that funds to promote the opposition. It's not about democracy. It's always how it is framed, but everybody knows that it's different.
So Reporters Without Borders says that Fidesz, the ruling party that you are part of, controls 80% of the country's media. The State Department, during Donald Trump, estimated approximately 85% of all Hungarian media outlets are under the control of a government-friendly owner.
Yeah, but it's not true.
The Trump administration was wrong about that?
We have a wonderful, yeah, probably the deep state was providing this information, false information for the president. So it's like Hungarian language is a unique language. It's a small market, 12 million people. The country itself, it's 10 million. So it's very hard to follow how it's going on. But if you come from Hungary, you follow the Hungarian media environment, it's obvious that the pro-governmental and anti-governmental or critical voices are very loudly heard. It's much better and healthier environment than in many other Western countries. So this is the reality. Every voice can be heard. In Hungary, the US money was specifically to try to delegitimize the current government. And I think it's unacceptable. Imagine the situation in the United States. Try to put it reverse. The Chinese and or the Russians or the French or the Brits are financing American media. Would you be okay with that? That you get your finance from the Chinese or from the Russians or from the French ones?
There are laws in this country that would prevent some of that.
Exactly. This is why we're trying
But it also would prevent state ownership of media.
Yeah, sure. But is there a lively media environment in the United States? I think so. So many voices are heard. It's the same in Hungary. So foreign interference, it's something we all should fight against it together.
You brought this up the last time we spoke, that you believe that Democrats in America finance the Hungarian opposition through USAID. You know that the Congress in this country approves all of these projects, which means Republicans have also approved these projects.
But the Congress was controlled by the Democrats, according to my understanding.
They couldn't get this passed without Republican support.
Yeah, sure. So it's like, and there are some Republicans who are opposing President Trump efforts to end the Ukrainian-Russian conflict also. So I'm a Hungarian official. It's not my job to explain or to criticize or to highlight internal American political dynamism. What I know is that there is a new president of United States who is saying, I think, something very important, that it should be stopped, that United States taxpayers' money is sent to a country which is an ally of United States to overthrow the government which was democratically elected 4 times with 2/3 of the majority by the Hungarian people. And I agree with them. And I don't want to interfere in internal
skeptics
dynamism.
would say you're using an opportunity to quash dissent.
In a sense, it's true that it should be stopped. So foreign interference in politics of a democracy, of a Western type of parliamentarian democracy, should be stopped. And it shouldn't be done by Washington, D.C. It shouldn't be done by Brussels either. It's a new era, a new way of understanding of politics. And I think it's a very good news for everybody.
A number of officials are with you here, and we also saw your foreign minister is in Washington. Right before he left office, President Biden's administration put sanctions on a gentleman known as Antal Rogan for corruption. This rarely happens when it comes to a U.S. ally. Hungary is an ally. But Rogan, who is a very senior official, according to the Treasury, used his role to, quote, enrich himself and those loyal to his party. Has there been a pledge from the Trump administration to lift those?
Unfortunately, this tool was used many times, misused many times by the Biden administration. They wanted to use it as a sanctions against those who are not in line with the Biden government policy. They were very frank on us. So they were saying that, look, we are having a war in Ukraine. Your job would be to support Ukraine. And if you are raising concerns that this bloodshed brings us nowhere, that you are going to be punished. And they found the ways how to do it.
Well, they're saying that this is pilfering of the public purse, using state funds for personal benefit.
Yeah, but it's a fake. I mean, it's not proven. So we hope that we will get a fair process from the Trump administration, and we hope that they will cancel this decision.
They haven't said yes yet?
I mean, the process is going on.
Understood. So when you went with Prime Minister Orbán to Beijing last year to meet with Vladimir Putin, did you hear from Putin that he is willing to negotiate an end to the war?
I think that they can get an offer where it's their interest to end the war. So there is a possibility to sit down with the Russians and reach a deal with them. The problem is this: we Hungarians were warning the West for like 3 years that, according to our understanding, this strategy that the Ukrainians are fighting and the West is financially and militarily support them from outside, it's not going to work because the time is on the Russian side, and if the time goes on, they will be stronger, the Ukrainians will be weaker, and the willingness on the Western side to continue the support will be also weaker. So it's like we were just warning the West that the sooner we get back to the negotiation tables and we sit down, the better outcome we will get. 3 years passed, Americans voted for Trump, mainly because, at least at the foreign policy era, they want also to see the end of this war. The situation, unfortunately, since then became critical because the Russians are proceeding, but I still think that there is a possibility to find a compromise and to end this war. And this is why I'm very optimistic to see that the negotiations started.
Your government has said it will not support extending EU sanctions on Russia so that there's time for these peace talks to continue. How long will you wait?
We don't know. I mean, it depends on the negotiations. For
You
us,
won't be able to judge Putin's seriousness quickly?
Yeah, well, we have to monitor what's going on, because I think that it's a completely new reality. We are not talking about sanctions because we want to put we have a strategy about how to prolong the war and phrase a new state, but how to close the war. And we are waiting for the results of the election, and all our moves on the European side and the American side. Sorry.
You said you're waiting. You meant the U.S.
Close election. No. Sorry, I was. So how to close as fast as possible the negotiations. So everything what we have, Europeans and Americans, should be used to support those who are doing the negotiations to first achieve ceasefire and then find a long-term agreement between the West and Russia. Because
so you'd be open to putting sanctions back on Russia?
Yeah, and I mean, everything depends on where the negotiations are going on. In general, Hungary is not in favor of sanctions. And we were vetoing those sanctions, which had a very negative effect on the Hungarian national interest. We're still doing that. There are some sanctions which were imposed by the Biden administration and by their European counterparts. And now it's an opportunity where we can say that we should close the sanctions if there is a deal, there is an end game. Finally, there is a way out, and we are waiting for that momentum. And this is why we are supporting the American administration to speed up the negotiations.
We're coming up on time, but I want to quickly ask you about China. Hungary was part of the Belt and Road Initiative, China's outreach. President Xi came to Budapest and talked about this relationship he has with your government. When the Minister of Public Security came to Budapest, did you sign an agreement to allow Chinese police to patrol in Hungary?
It's also fake news, which was portrayed by international media. It's not happening. There is no such thing.
There are no Chinese police given permission to operate on Hungarian soil?
Of course not. Of course not. There is a usual type of technical agreement. Then Hungarian police can use Chinese law enforcement people in touristic areas to deal with the tourists who are there, but they don't have the right to operate. It's a very usual thing. We have the same kind of agreement with many countries.
Which tourists are monitored?
No, I mean, law and order maintained. And, you know, Hungarian police do not speak Chinese, and there are many Chinese tourists. So it makes sense to have somebody who can communicate with them if there is a kind of a problem. This is a very usual law and order technical thing. Many government is doing it. With many other governments. We have the same agreements with various countries. But the liberal media was picking it up, portraying it as in a fake way, and using it to try to discredit Hungary. This is what we are facing. This is the reality, and it's very sad because it shouldn't be the case. So
just to be clear then, when the Chinese police are there to help with the Chinese tourists, are they monitoring what their nationals are saying?
No, they don't have the right to act. Only the Hungarian police has the right to act. They are there to help communicate.
Okay. Your government has also called AfD leader Alice Weidel the future of Germany, and your prime minister hosted her last week. You know, this is a party that said anti-Europe, anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, anti-democratic things. Why align with them?
It's a complicated party. I agree with you, but the leadership seems to be quite bold and smart. Alice Weidel is a very talented politician, and she wants to change Germany. And we had a long discussion with her. And it's obvious that the changes she wants to her country, it would be also good for Hungary. because what the German government did with its own country in the last 3 years or 4 years, it was very bad for Germany and very bad for Europe and also very bad for my country, because the two economies are interlinked. So we hope that there is a change of new, there is a chance of new leadership in Germany, which we hope that it could be led by Alice Weidel.
Okay. Thank you for explaining your point of view.
Thank you very much.
Taking questions.
Appreciate it.